This is the Metropolitan Council meeting, September 11th, 2024. Good afternoon. I'm Charlie Zelli, Chair. And we have a number of items of business before the council, no information items. There are a couple items that had been deferred, but those are outlined on the agenda. So unless there's any objection, I will take the agenda as being approved. And we have sent out in advance minutes from our council meeting on August 28th. If there's any, unless there's any comments, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So, second.
Thank you, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. And now we're at the point where we invite interested persons from the public to address the council on matters not on the agenda.
No one signed up.
And nobody has signed up. So we're going to march along to our joint reports. And there is a budget amendment that will require a roll call vote, but I will defer to Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to bring before business item 2024-188. It's a joint item, same week, and it is about the unified budget amendment. The 2024 third quarter budget amendment makes no changes to the operating budget in regional administration, MTS, and Metro Transit, and changes the capital budget in community development, MTS, and Metro Transit. The proposed amendment was reviewed and approved by the Community Development Committee on August 19th, the Management Committee on August 28th, and the Transportation Committee on September 9th. In regional administration, the amendment adds 24 full-time equivalent FTEs in information services, procurement, OEEO, human resources, and government affairs. It also brings forward $1 million included in the proposed 2025 budget into 2024 to continue to accelerate network security work. In Metro Transit, the amendment adds 4 FTEs in bus operations, primarily for safety and maintenance work. In MTS, the amendment increases expenses and uses the reserves by $3.5 million in Metro Mobility for higher than anticipated contract settlements and expenses, and increases expenses in the use of reserves by $2.5 million in fixed route for the same reason. In the capital budget, the amendment adds $61 million in federal funds for the Green Line extension. It also adds $28 million in regional sales tax for materials management storage facility. And lastly, in MTS, the amendment adds $40 million in federal funds for 10 projects, primarily small bus replacement projects. The individual projects and their charges are outlined in tables 9 and 11 of the information that you've all received in your report. And so, Mr. Chair, therefore, the motion is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the 2024 unified budget as amended and in accordance with the attached tables.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Questions? All right, we have reviewed this in meetings in the past. Well, with that, I will call for a roll call. Minty?
Johnson?
Aye.
Barber?
Aye.
Pacheco?
Aye.
Lilligren?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Wolf? Oh, sorry, went the wrong way. Lindstrom?
Aye.
Cedarburg?
Aye.
Bento?
Aye.
Carter?
Aye.
And Wolf.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the chair votes aye.
Perfect.
Thank you. That motion and budget amendment is approved. On to the non-consent business items. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That the consented business items are approved. Non-consent business, the reports of the standing committee, starting with community development. Councilmember Lilligren.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. And to my colleagues, I apologize. I'm having some kind of seasonal allergy thing here.
So very robust.
Yeah, so I have my husky voice. So the Community Development Committee brings 2 items forward for consideration on the non-consent business agenda. They're both awards of Livable Communities Act dollars. And The first is business item 2024-234. It's to award just over $1 million in Livable Communities Act pre-development grant funds for 7 projects. I'll remind council members that pre-development grants are intended for projects that need to complete additional work to fully shape and detail the final development, and typically include a range of activities, including but not limited to feasibility analysis, project studies, infrastructure, system engineering development, and planning needs, design work, and community engagement. In this round, 9 applications were received from the cities of Blaine, Minneapolis, Richfield, St. Louis Park, EDA, and St. Paul. All of the applications met the minimum scoring criteria to be eligible for funding. Due to the requests exceeding the available funding, 7 of the applications submitted are recommended for funding. The project's award will support affordable housing, manufactured home preservation and rehabilitation, mixed-use development and public spaces, and local small businesses. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council awards 7 Livable Communities Act pre-development grants totaling $1,050,000 as shown in Table 1 of the item, and to authorize the Executive Director of Community Development to execute the grant agreements on behalf of the Council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Lilligren.
Yeah, thanks. The next item is item 2024-235. It's to award $50,000 in Livable Communities Act policy development funds to support a policy development project in the city of Hugo. Policy development grants support cities in developing and adopting policies that support the Livable Communities Act goals of increased housing choice through more affordable housing options, living wage job creation, compact connected development, and environmental sustainability, all with the underlying principle of equitable development. We received 1 application from the city of Hugo, and the policy they're developing will support updating their zoning code to allow increased density, additional multifamily development, and environmental sustainability in building codes. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council award 1 Livable Communities Act policy development grant totaling $50,000 as shown in Table 1 of the report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, I am on the CDC committee, and I really enjoy seeing these come through, and then we get snippets about, what type of development it is, and we learn about the community, and especially with Hugo, there were some really good comments about the city and the great work that they're doing. So it's not my district, and I'm not that familiar with it, but if you sit on CDC, you get a really good picture, I think, of what's going on throughout the region. So hats off to them for their grant this evening.
And it's worth noting, so much more discussion happens at the committee level, so I appreciate your highlighting that information. Councilmember Cedarburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The city of Hugo is in District 11, and I'd just like to say they are extremely active in participating in Met Council groundwater meetings and sub-regional water meetings and water reuse, and they are just really at the forefront of really trying to build a sustainable community. And so it's really nice that they applied for this and were granted the policy development grant. So
That's great to hear, and we certainly know from just the public information that's there, Hugo has water issues, so
Yep.
important to consider. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. On to the Environment Committee. Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 2 items before us this afternoon, speaking of Hugo,
Right.
and the water issues.
Not intended, these are back to back.
Yeah, exactly, but it's all apropos. We have before us this afternoon contracts 24P056A through 24P056C, and these are for technical consultant services for the water supply studies and technical analysis for the White Bear Lake Area Comprehensive Plan in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million. So council members will recall that the council has pulled together a work group of local government and state officials to develop a comprehensive plan to ensure communities in the White Bear Lake area, including Hugo and several others, have access to safe drinking water and ensure the sustainability of surface water and groundwater for that area. And that's where the technical consultants come in. So we issued a request for proposals on May 3rd of this year, and an evaluation panel came back consensus that the proposals submitted by Kimley Horn and Associates, Barr Engineering, and Short Elliott Hendrickson are the most advantageous to the council and recommend for the award. Therefore, Mr. Chair and council members, I move that the council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contracts 24P056A through 24P056C for technical consultant services for the water supply studies and technical analysis for the White Bear Lake Area Comprehensive Plan in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million, as stated in the business item.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion is carried. Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thank you. This is a neat project that we've been involved with for several years. This is business item 2024-244, same week. Requests that the council authorize the regional administrator to execute the contract amendment for contract 15103 with the University of Minnesota for continuation of educating citizens of the Twin Cities area about lawn water conservation by reinforcing current outreach efforts and creating new educational materials for homeowners in the form of online videos and signs and pamphlets and in-person workshops. This amendment will be for a total amount of $418,997 for a contract duration of 3 years for a total contract not to exceed value of $1,388,947. So the council has partnered with the University of Minnesota Turf Grass Science Program to investigate and promote methods for increasing turf grass irrigation efficiency. And the university will also compete a turf grass species mixture trial at 4 metropolitan area locations. So they're going to be doing outreach with our residents at 25 different events. And this money also supports a program called Lawn Leaders, which trains residents to hold events for their neighbors in their front yards or in their backyards about turf grass and water efficiency. And then also funds these 4 different seedgrass mixture research plots. So therefore, Mr. Chair and members of the council, I move that the council authorize the regional administrator to execute the contract amendment for contract 15103 with the University of Minnesota for a total amount of $418,997 for a contract duration of 3 years for a not to exceed value of $1,388,947. I had to compete with myself.
Not sure where
Who's
that
that
came
guy
from.
talking over there?
We can't get enough of Councilmember Lindstrom.
Yes, exactly.
Wasn't even touching it.
One of them. It definitely was said. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and any discussion? No? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? All right, that motion carried. It does sound like a great program. All right, on to the Management Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Management Committee brings forward business item 2024-240. It's a same week item that was heard in management today. It is the labor agreement with the Metropolitan Council Management Association, known as MANA. The Metropolitan Council's labor agreement with MANA expired on December 31st of 2023. MANA represents 124 supervisors and managers who work for regional administration, environmental services, metropolitan transportation services, and community development. The parties reached a tentative agreement on August 21st, 2024, and following recommendation from the MANA Executive Board, the MANA membership ratified the agreement on September 5th of 2024. Highlights of the agreement include a 3-year contract effective January 1st, 2024 through December 31st of 2026, a compensation package that includes a 5.5% general wage increase in year 1, a 4.5% general wage increase in year 2, and a 3.0% increase, general increase in the 3rd year of the contract. A 2.5 performance-based increase for each year of the contract as well is included in the agreement. The wages and benefits negotiated in this agreement are consistent with the agreements in place and with the council's other labor unions. The cost of the labor agreement was reviewed by finance and was negotiated within the economic parameters established by the council. Again, this item was reviewed and approved by the Management Committee today on September 11th. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move approval to authorize the regional administrator to enter into a labor agreement with the Metropolitan Council Management Association, MANA, effective January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion, questions? Councilmember Johnson?
Mr. Chair, again, I just want to thank everybody who's involved in the bargaining process on the Met Council side, certainly. And then I just really want to, again, extend a big gratitude to MANA and all of the folks that are represented in that union for coming together and putting, I think, together a really good agreement where there's a win-win for everyone. So we appreciate the hard work by our employees here, and MANA is definitely included in that. So just want to give my thanks, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you. Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. Thank you, congratulations. On to Transportation Committee, Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and council members, business item number 2024-215, same week, is regarding the proposed Network Now concept plan. The Network Now plan is Metro Transit's service improvement vision through 2027. Principles applied in developing this plan include adapting to changes in travel patterns, preparing to implement metro lines, maintain reliability of service, grow ridership, and provide access to opportunities throughout the system. Network Now expands service by 35%. These improvements are supported by a new sales tax and positive workforce hiring and include improved frequency on 65 routes, implementing the Gold, B, and E lines in 2025, and G line Phase 1 and Green Line extension in 2027, and 8 new microtransit projects by 2027. While the discontinuation of 53 routes suspended since 2020 require council approval of a public hearing on October 29th, all comments received during community engagement between September 12th and November 15th will be reviewed for plan modifications. Metro Transit will hold meetings reviewing Network Now and will participate in community meetings. A revised plan based on all comments will be presented to the council in early 2025 for approval. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorizes a public hearing to accept comments on the proposed Network Now concept plan, service expansion, and discontinuation of suspended routes.
Great, thank you. A second, thank you, Councilmember Carter. Any discussion, questions? Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of comments. First of all, as we talked about in the business item, is this does identify 8 new microtransit projects by 2027. I will say, in light of some of the recent news that we've had, that the microtransit projects in this draft concept plan would enhance connections to other regional transit investments. And if plans for regional transit investments change, this could lead us to revisit our plans for microtransit investments into the future. Then I also just want to say I'm really excited that we're taking this big step. This is a huge thing. The legislature passed the Transportation Omnibus Bill, which gave us additional funding and a long-term funding stream. And tasked us with showing a vision and a plan for the future. And this really, with an expansion of 35%, is really a plan for the future. And it shows that we're really willing to make a significant investment into the transportation network. The first step of this, obviously, is authorizing this public hearing so we can listen and respond to riders, local officials, community members, but it is definitely a really great step forward. I want to take a moment to thank Adam Harrington and Cindy Herper, who have been very involved with this work and really led this effort. The output that they've done has been very wonderful. Also appreciate staff taking the time and reaching out to council members and having district-specific information for each of you of what routes would be affected. And as we go through this community engagement process, please reach out if there are additional questions or concerns or we need to have communication in your districts.
Thank you, Chairman Barber. I really appreciate those comments. This is a step, really important step along a process, and hats off to Adam, you and your crew. I think it's also, as you noted, that this isn't final. This is subject to not only public comment, but maybe some of our own considerations as the network of interconnected network of transitways and connections evolve. So, yeah, important. Any other, Councilmember Carter?
Thank you. I truly appreciate the robust presentation that we received and the conversation that we had at our committee meeting on Monday. And I wanted to note, per request of Councilmember Dolker, that she could not be here tonight and did take time to write a small paragraph, which I'll read verbatim from her as we look toward this vote on the public comment period. Councilmember Dolker specifies that she is requesting that the staff consider the alignment of G-Line to be extended beyond Dakota Service Center. Transit ridership has changed since the line alignment was adopted, and the council's ability to fund transit projects are stronger than before. Because the Phase 2 starts in 2027 and after, we should consider extending the line to Inver Hills, similar to Purple Line consideration of Century College. We could consider requesting FTA on dynamic frequency based on college schedules. That is the comment from, oh, there's more. Because we are still in the early phase of the project, we have the room and flexibility to think bigger. That is the end of her comment. And as the chair has specified, this is not a final, this is a release into public comment. That is what Councilmember Dolker wanted to add today. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for transmitting her comments. As you know, and maybe I just said, we're open for additional comments along the way. So that is an example of one. I'm sure there'll be others. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to let council members know that there will be an action item on our next council meeting, which was 25th, for the Metro G line, which is authorization to release recommended corridor plan for public comment for that specific line. And so we'll make sure that Councilmember Dolker's comments get added to that, but that's when we would be taking up that issue specifically. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good point. Councilmember Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the briefings that we got individually about our district. I want to make sure that the council as a whole has kind of an understanding of the dynamics of the changes that are going on. There are some places that don't have significant transit that will be getting a bump, but there are other places that have had transit that aren't going to anymore. And there are places that are, developed edge communities that are, in the MUSA and at sewer densities and everything that are not planned at any time in the future to have transit, so that we recognize that as we're thinking about the Imagine 2050 ultimate, whatever that ends up being, that don't assume that every place is eventually going to have transit. Even with the additional funding, it's not enough to give everybody transit, and we need to recognize that in our development patterns.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Other comments, questions? All right, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried. Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-220, also same week, is regarding approval to acquire property for a material warehousing. As the transit network continues to grow, so does the need for additional parts and materials to support operations, and we're currently operating in a space deficit and not able to support that growth. Metro Transit staff work with council real estate to search for and evaluate properties that can meet the needed program for material warehousing to accommodate the long-term growth. Staff have determined that the facility at 755 Industrial Boulevard best meets the program criteria based on size, amenities, price, and location, and have determined that a market price of $26.5 million is fair and reasonable and in the best interest of the council. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to purchase the property at 755 Industrial Boulevard in Minneapolis from Alcat Broadway LLC for the purpose of material warehousing for Metro Transit Material Management Group in an amount not to exceed $26.5 million.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, that motion's carried. That takes us through our business items. There's no information reports specifically. And I'd call on any council member who has any reports or anything they would like to share at this point. Not required, all right. Mr. Temporary Deputy Regional Administrator, good to see you here, Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm sitting in for our regional administrator. Nothing to report this afternoon.
All right, General Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
All right, with that, it's a beautiful, I won't say fall, summer afternoon, 4:30, and please enjoy it. This meeting is adjourned.